A shy 13-year-old walked onto the America's Got Talent stage looking too nervous to even speak. Seconds later, the entire room exploded with disbelief, and even Simon Cowell could barely hide his shock. What transformed this quiet schoolgirl into a fearless rock and soul powerhouse? Behind that unforgettable performance was years of hidden passion, relentless practice, and a journey far more emotional than most people ever realized. But what happened before that unforgettable audition is a story very few people know. Before millions of people watched Courtney Hadwin amaze the world on America's Got Talent, she was simply a quiet girl growing up in a small town in the northeast of England. To anyone who met her, she seemed shy, reserved, and uncomfortable being the center of attention. Speaking to strangers could make her nervous. Standing in front of a crowd felt almost impossible. Yet there was one place where everything changed. The moment music started, Courtney became a completely different person. She was born on July 6, 2004 in Heselden, County Durham, England. Her parents noticed early that she loved singing. While many children enjoyed popular songs, Courtney became fascinated by powerful voices from another era. She listened to legendary artists like Janis Joplin, James Brown, Tina Turner, and Otis Redding. Their raw emotion and energy left a lasting mark on her. Instead of copying modern pop stars, she studied performers whose music had been recorded decades before she was born. That choice would later make her stand out from almost every young singer on television. Growing up was not always easy. According to interviews, Courtney was naturally shy and often found social situations difficult. At school, she kept a low profile. Few people imagined that the quiet girl sitting in class had a voice capable of filling an entire theater. Music became more than a hobby. It became her safe place. When she sang, fear seemed to disappear. Confidence replaced hesitation. It was as if she stepped into another world where nothing could hold her back. Her parents recognized this change and encouraged her dream. They supported her performances at local events and talent competitions, helping her gain experience little by little. Every stage taught her something new. Every performance made her just a little braver. But success did not arrive overnight. Before America ever heard her name, Courtney appeared on several talent competitions in the United Kingdom. One of her biggest early opportunities came when she competed on The Voice Kids UK in 2017. Although all the coaches turned their chairs during her blind audition, her journey ended before the final. For many young performers, that kind of disappointment could have ended the dream. Instead, Courtney kept going. She continued practicing, continued believing, and continued searching for the opportunity that could truly change her life. Here's a question for you. Do you think real success comes from natural talent, or from refusing to give up after setbacks? Share your thoughts in the comments. What made Courtney different was not only her incredible voice. It was her determination to keep chasing her dream even after facing rejection on national television. She understood something many adults never learn. One closed door does not mean the journey is over. Still, the biggest test of her life had not even begun. Across the Atlantic, one of the world's biggest talent shows was preparing for another season. Thousands would audition. Only a handful would be remembered. No one, not the audience, not the judges, and perhaps not even Courtney herself, could have predicted what would happen when she walked onto that famous stage. That single moment would change her life forever and become one of the most talked about auditions in America's Got Talent history. But the moment Courtney stepped onto the America's Got Talent stage, almost no one expected what was about to happen. It was 2018. Season 13 of America's Got Talent had already introduced many talented performers. The judges had seen singers, dancers, comedians, magicians, and musicians from around the world. It takes something truly special to surprise people who have watched thousands of auditions. Then a 13-year-old girl from England quietly walked onto the stage. Courtney looked nervous. She spoke softly when host Tyra Banks asked her a few questions backstage. As she stood in front of judges Simon Cowell, Howie Mandel, Heidi Klum, and Mel B, she barely made eye contact. Her hands seemed tense, and her voice was almost a whisper. Simon Cowell noticed it immediately. Looking at Courtney, he gently said she seemed very shy. Many people watching at home probably assumed they knew what was coming next. They expected a sweet performance from a nervous young singer. Some may have even wondered whether the pressure would become too much. But appearances can be incredibly misleading. The music began. Courtney chose Hard to Handle, made famous by Otis Redding. The first few seconds were quiet as she prepared herself. Then everything changed. She exploded into the song with an energy that nobody expected. Her powerful voice filled the theater. She danced across the stage with fearless confidence, moving with a style that reminded many viewers of classic rock and soul legends. The audience jumped to their feet. People stared in disbelief. The judges' expressions changed almost instantly. Simon Cowell, who had looked concerned only moments earlier, was now smiling with genuine surprise. His reaction became one of the most memorable parts of the audition. After the performance, he admitted that when Courtney first walked onto the stage, he thought she might struggle because she appeared so nervous. Instead, she completely proved him wrong. Howie Mandel compared the experience to discovering a young Janis Joplin. Mel B praised her unique voice and fearless performance. Heidi Klum could hardly contain her excitement. Then came the moment that changed everything. Howie Mandel reached forward and pressed the golden buzzer. Golden confetti poured from the ceiling as the audience erupted into cheers. Courtney stood in shock, trying to understand what had just happened. Her parents watched with tears in their eyes as years of hard work suddenly turned into the opportunity of a lifetime. Millions of people soon watched the audition online. Within days, it spread across social media, television programs, and news websites around the world. Viewers were amazed not only by Courtney's incredible voice but also by the dramatic contrast between her shy personality before the song and her electrifying confidence once the music started. That contrast became the heart of her story. It reminded people that confidence is not always visible. Sometimes the strongest people simply need the right moment to show who they really are. As her audition continued to attract millions of views, people began asking the same question. Who is this young girl? Where did this extraordinary talent come from? And could she possibly continue performing at such an incredible level under even greater pressure? If you enjoy discovering the hidden stories behind unforgettable moments like this, subscribe to the channel. There are many more incredible journeys that reveal what happened before and after the spotlight found them. The weeks ahead would become even more challenging. Every new performance carried enormous expectations. The world was no longer comparing Courtney to other young singers. Some were comparing her to legendary performers whose careers had shaped music history. That kind of praise can feel exciting, but it can also create enormous pressure for a teenager still trying to find her own identity. The biggest challenge was no longer convincing people she had talent. It was proving that her unforgettable audition was only the beginning. In many ways, Courtney's story speaks to anyone who has ever been judged too quickly. People often decide what someone is capable of within a few seconds. Yet one opportunity, one performance, or one brave decision can completely change those opinions. Maybe you've experienced that feeling yourself, being underestimated before you've had the chance to show what you can really do. Courtney was about to discover that becoming famous overnight brings incredible opportunities, but it also brings expectations that never seem to disappear. And as the competition moved forward, every performance would test not only her voice but also her strength, resilience, and determination. But winning the audience with one audition was only the first battle. The real challenge was proving that the moment was not just lightning in a bottle. After receiving the golden buzzer, Courtney Hadwin was no longer an unknown teenager from England. Overnight, she became one of the most talked-about contestants on America's Got Talent. Her audition was viewed by millions of people across YouTube, Facebook, and news websites. Fans from every corner of the world wanted to know more about the shy girl with the voice of a rock legend. The attention came fast. Very fast. Television interviews began arriving. Music critics discussed her unique style. Reaction videos flooded the internet. Some viewers called her one of the most unforgettable contestants in the show's history. But fame also brought pressure. Now, every performance was expected to be even better than the last. During the live shows, Courtney knew she could not rely on surprise anymore. The judges and audience already knew she had an incredible voice. They were now watching to see whether she could grow as an artist. She embraced the challenge. Performance after performance, Courtney stayed true to the music she loved. Instead of chasing modern pop trends, she continued singing classic rock and soul songs. Her stage presence remained wild, energetic, and completely fearless. She threw herself into every performance with the same passion that had shocked the judges during her audition. Each week, audiences cheered louder. Each week, more people became fans. Simon Cowell repeatedly praised her originality. He admired that she never tried to sound like anyone else. In a competition where many contestants played it safe, Courtney took risks that made her memorable. Even people who preferred different styles of music admitted there was something special about watching her perform. She wasn't simply singing songs. She was living them. As the competition moved closer to the finals, Courtney faced increasingly talented competitors. Every contestant wanted the grand prize, and the standard became higher with each round. Although Courtney delivered powerful performances throughout the season, she ultimately finished in the top 10 finalists of America's Got Talent Season 13. While she did not win the competition, many fans believed she had already achieved something even bigger. She had introduced herself to the world. For countless successful artists, finishing first in a talent competition is not what defines a career. What matters most is what happens after the cameras stop rolling. Courtney understood that. Instead of disappearing after the show ended, she focused on building a real music career. She released original songs, allowing fans to hear her own voice beyond cover performances. Singles such as Pretty Little Thing showed that she wanted to grow as a songwriter as well as a performer. It was an important step because creating original music is often much harder than singing famous songs. She also performed at concerts and music festivals, sharing stages with experienced musicians. Every appearance helped her become more comfortable performing before large crowds. Her confidence continued to grow. Ironically, the girl once known for being painfully shy had become someone who could command the attention of thousands of people under bright stage lights. If there is one lesson in Courtney's journey so far, it is this: success is not always about finishing first. Sometimes the greatest victory is simply proving to yourself that you belong. Many viewers connected with that message because everyone has experienced moments of doubt. Everyone has wondered whether they were good enough or whether one failure meant giving up. Courtney's story suggested something different. It showed that persistence can open doors that talent alone cannot. Still, life after viral fame was far from simple. Millions of people now expected every new song to match the magic of her AGT audition. Social media created constant comparisons. Some fans wanted her to remain the same young girl forever, while others expected her to evolve into a completely different artist. Finding the balance would not be easy. Growing up is difficult for anyone. Growing up while millions of strangers are watching every step is something else entirely. The spotlight that had once felt like a dream was beginning to reveal its hidden weight. And behind the applause, the headlines, and the standing ovations, Courtney was about to face challenges that few people outside the entertainment industry truly understand. But behind every standing ovation was a quieter story that most people never saw. From the outside, Courtney Hadwin's life looked like a dream. Millions of people knew her name. Her performances were watched around the world. Music legends praised her talent, and fans filled the comments section with admiration. But fame has two sides. The bright lights that bring opportunity can also create pressure that never seems to switch off. For Courtney, that pressure arrived at a very young age. At just 13 years old, she was suddenly expected to perform on some of the biggest stages in the world. Every appearance was recorded. Every note was analyzed. Every interview was shared online. Thousands of strangers discussed her voice, her dancing, her clothes, and even her personality. That is a heavy burden for anyone. It is even harder for someone who had always described herself as naturally shy. One of the biggest misunderstandings about Courtney was the difference between her stage presence and her real personality. On stage, she looked fearless. Off stage, she often appeared quiet, thoughtful, and reserved. Some people found it hard to believe those two versions of Courtney could exist in the same person. But psychologists often explain that performers can experience complete confidence while doing what they love, even if they feel anxious in everyday situations. For Courtney, music remained the place where she felt most free. Still, growing up in public meant she could never completely escape criticism. As her fame increased, social media became both a gift and a challenge. Supporters celebrated every new performance, calling her one of the most unique young singers of her generation. Others compared every appearance to her famous AGT audition, expecting each performance to recreate that same sense of surprise. Those expectations can become exhausting. No artist can shock the world every single time. Eventually, every performer has to grow, experiment, and sometimes disappoint people who want everything to stay exactly the same. Courtney seemed determined not to let outside opinions define her. Rather than rushing to release large numbers of songs, she took time to develop her own musical identity. She continued writing, recording, and performing while allowing herself to mature naturally as both a singer and a songwriter. That decision may have disappointed fans hoping for constant releases, but it reflected something important. She was thinking about a long career, not just a viral moment. As the years passed, Courtney gradually shifted from being known as the girl from AGT to becoming an artist finding her own creative voice. That journey takes patience. It also takes courage. Many young performers disappear after talent shows because the sudden attention fades. Courtney chose a different path. She kept working, even when the headlines became less frequent. Everyone has faced moments where they felt overlooked, misunderstood, or compared to impossible expectations. Maybe your own journey also includes people who only see one part of who you are. Sometimes the greatest success comes from staying true to yourself instead of trying to please everyone else. Another challenge was growing up while millions of fans remembered her as a teenager. Children change. Teenagers become adults. Voices mature. Personalities evolve. Music changes too. Some fans welcomed those changes. Others struggled to accept that Courtney was no longer the same 13-year-old who had amazed the AGT judges. But change is part of every artist's story. The greatest musicians are not remembered because they stayed the same forever. They are remembered because they continued growing. Public interviews over the years have shown Courtney remaining grateful for the opportunities AGT gave her while also focusing on creating music that reflects who she is today rather than who people expect her to be. That may be one of the most difficult challenges in entertainment. Finding your own voice after the world has already decided who it thinks you are. And while Courtney continued building her career, another fascinating chapter of her life was quietly taking shape, one that extended beyond television performances and viral videos. Because success in today's music industry is no longer measured only by album sales or talent show rankings. It is also about building a lasting career, making smart decisions, and creating opportunities that continue long after the applause fades. In the next chapter, we'll explore how Courtney transformed early fame into a growing career, the business side of her success, and what the future could hold for one of the most unforgettable voices ever to step onto the America's Got Talent stage. But what happened after the television cameras stopped rolling may be the most important part of Courtney Hadwin's journey. Many people believe success begins when someone becomes famous. In reality, fame is only the beginning. The real challenge is turning a single unforgettable moment into a career that lasts for years. Countless contestants have appeared on talent shows, received standing ovations, and then quietly disappeared from the public eye. Courtney was determined not to become one of them. Instead of chasing every headline or trying to stay in the news at all costs, she chose a slower path. She focused on something much more valuable, building herself as a genuine recording artist. That decision required patience. After America's Got Talent, Courtney signed with music industry professionals and began releasing original music. Rather than relying only on classic cover songs, she wanted fans to hear her own ideas, her own lyrics, and her own sound. Songs like Pretty Little Thing, Monsters, and later releases showed a different side of Courtney. They blended rock, blues, soul, and modern influences while allowing her powerful voice to remain the center of attention. It was clear she wasn't trying to copy anyone else. She wanted to create her own identity. That is one of the hardest things any young artist can do. Many singers become trapped by the performance that made them famous. Fans expect them to repeat it forever. Courtney refused to stay in that box. She continued writing, recording, and performing while learning more about the business behind music. Today's music industry is very different from the one that created many of Courtney's heroes. Success is no longer measured only by album sales. Artists now connect directly with millions of fans through streaming platforms, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and other social media. Courtney embraced those opportunities carefully. Her official YouTube channel gave fans access to music videos, live performances, and original songs. Streaming services introduced her music to listeners across the world, allowing people who first discovered her through AGT to continue following her journey. Each new release became another step forward, perhaps not always with huge headlines, but with steady progress. Unlike many celebrities, Courtney has also kept much of her private life away from public attention. She rarely creates unnecessary drama simply to attract clicks or media coverage. In today's entertainment world, that is surprisingly rare. Sometimes protecting your peace is one of the smartest business decisions you can make. By allowing her work to speak louder than controversy, Courtney has built a reputation centered on talent rather than headlines. If you've enjoyed uncovering the hidden stories behind artists like Courtney, make sure you subscribe. Every remarkable career has chapters most people never hear about, and there are many more journeys waiting to be explored. Of course, building a music career is not only about recording songs. Live performances remain one of the most important ways artists connect with audiences. Courtney has continued appearing at concerts and music events, giving fans the chance to experience the same raw energy that first amazed the AGT judges. Anyone who has watched her perform understands something important. She does not simply sing. She performs with complete commitment. That passion has become her trademark. Financially, public information suggests Courtney's income comes from several sources common to modern musicians, including streaming royalties, music sales, live performances, licensing, and online platforms. While exact figures are private and estimates vary widely, there are no verified public records confirming the higher net worth claims that often circulate online. That is a reminder that not everything shared on the internet is true. The most reliable facts come from official releases, public records, and credible interviews, not rumors. For many young fans, Courtney's story offers an important lesson. Success is not always loud. Sometimes it is built quietly, one song, one performance, and one decision at a time. While others chase quick fame, lasting careers are often created through consistency, patience, and authenticity. And perhaps that is Courtney Hadwin's greatest achievement so far. She has shown that the shy teenager who once surprised Simon Cowell was never just a viral sensation. She was an artist beginning a journey. But every journey eventually raises one final question. What kind of legacy will she leave behind? The answer may be more inspiring than anyone expected. But perhaps Courtney Hadwin's greatest performance has never been about winning a competition. It has been about proving that staying true to yourself can be more powerful than chasing fame. When people remember America's Got Talent Season 13, one moment almost always comes up. A quiet 13-year-old girl walked nervously onto the stage. Simon Cowell looked concerned. The audience waited politely. Then, in a matter of seconds, everything changed. That audition became one of the most watched and discussed performances in the show's history. Years later, millions of people still return to watch it, introducing new audiences to the unforgettable moment that launched Courtney onto the world stage. But viral moments don't create lasting legacies. People do. Since AGT, Courtney has continued growing, not just as a singer, but as a songwriter and performer. Her voice has matured, her musical style has evolved, and her confidence has become more natural with each passing year. She is no longer simply the young girl who surprised the judges. She is becoming an artist with her own identity. That transformation matters. Many child stars struggle with the transition into adulthood. Some disappear from the spotlight. Others spend years trying to escape the image the public created for them. Courtney has chosen a different path. Instead of fighting her past, she has embraced it while continuing to move forward. She respects the audition that changed her life, but she also understands that one performance cannot define an entire career. Every new song is another chapter. Every concert is another opportunity. Every year brings new experiences that shape who she becomes. Perhaps the most inspiring part of Courtney's story is not her powerful voice. It is her courage. Imagine standing in front of millions of viewers while feeling naturally shy. Imagine reading comments from strangers judging every performance, every decision, and every change you make as you grow older. Most people would find that overwhelming. Yet Courtney continued. She kept singing. She kept learning. She kept believing in herself. That resilience may become her greatest legacy. Young musicians around the world now look at her story and see something important. You do not have to fit into someone else's idea of success. You do not have to change your personality to achieve your dreams. Sometimes the quietest person in the room has the loudest voice when given the right stage. That lesson reaches far beyond music. It applies to students afraid to speak in class, to employees waiting for their chance, to artists who wonder whether anyone will ever notice their work, and to anyone who has ever felt underestimated. If Courtney's journey has reminded you of a challenge in your own life, remember this: every successful person starts somewhere. Your turning point may not have arrived yet, but that does not mean it never will. Keep learning, keep improving, and keep believing in what you can become. No one knows exactly what the future holds for Courtney Hadwin. Perhaps she will release albums that reach audiences around the world. Perhaps she will tour internationally. Perhaps she will explore new musical styles while staying connected to the rock and soul influences that inspired her from the beginning. Whatever direction she chooses, one thing seems clear. She has already achieved something many artists spend an entire lifetime chasing. She created a moment that people will never forget. And she did it simply by being herself. In an industry where image often matters as much as talent, Courtney reminded the world that authenticity still has incredible power. The shy teenager who once stepped nervously onto the AGT stage did not pretend to be someone else. She trusted her voice. She trusted her passion. And she changed her life forever. As one chapter continues to close and another begins, her story remains a powerful reminder that opportunities can appear when we least expect them, and that courage is not the absence of fear. Sometimes courage is walking onto a stage while your hands are shaking and singing anyway. But this is only one remarkable story of talent, determination, and transformation. Another famous journey hides an even more surprising truth, and you can discover it in our next documentary. Until then, keep believing that extraordinary stories often begin with ordinary people.